The $50 billion capital trap. Oracle is currently raising up to $50 billion in fresh capital to patch a $23 billion hole in its free cash flow. While the headline story focuses on a 93% surge in cloud infrastructure revenue, the balance sheet tells a more desperate tale. Larry Ellison is effectively outspending his operating cash to build data centers in regions where AWS and Azure are facing massive regulatory friction. This isn't a push for global dominance in the traditional sense. It is a targeted play for sovereign AI, a strategy designed to monetize national paranoia about data residency. By moving away from the centralized public cloud model, Oracle is betting that the only way to sustain its $156 billion debt load is to become the preferred infrastructure for governments that no longer trust the open internet. The bridge to this strategy lies in how they handle international data friction, jurisdictional arbitrage as a service. The move into Japan, Malaysia, and the United Arab Emirates isn't about geography. It's about jurisdictional arbitrage. Oracle is deploying OCI superclusters into these markets under a sovereign label to bypass the growing thicket of international data laws. Think of it as a cloud fortress. By allowing local governments to claim ownership over the governance layer, while Oracle manages the underlying silicon, they avoid the anti-monopoly scrutiny currently paralyzing their larger competitors. However, the costs are staggering. In fiscal 2026, Oracle's capital expenditures jumped 162% to over $55 billion. They are essentially buying revenue by building bespoke clouds for individual nations, a move that sacrifices the traditional scale advantages of the public cloud for the sake of regulatory compliance. And as Oracle builds the hardware, Broadcom is positioning itself as the software tax on these national silos. Broadcom's private AI revenue pivot. Broadcom is using its VMware acquisition to force a shift toward what it calls private AI, targeting the 83% of enterprises currently considering moving workloads out of the public cloud. The strategy is to tax the repatriation of data. As public cloud costs and power constraints spiral, Broadcom is positioning VMware Cloud Foundation as the only certified stack for these new sovereign regions. But there is a massive execution risk. In June 2026, European regulators proposed the Cloud and AI Development Act, or CADA, which specifically targets the lack of interoperability in proprietary stacks like Broadcom's. Critics argue that a cloud isn't truly sovereign if the master key is held by a U.S. corporation. This creates a collision course between the P&L goals of these tech giants and the legislative reality of digital autonomy, where the very software meant to enable sovereignty might soon be banned for being too restrictive. The signal under the noise. The transition from globalized public clouds to national joint ventures marks the end of the hyperscale efficiency era for the tech industry. Oracle and Broadcom are leading this shift, not because of a grand ideological move towards sovereignty, but because the economics of the centralized cloud are breaking under the weight of power costs and regulatory fines. By analyzing the massive jump in Oracle's remaining performance obligations, which now sit at $638 billion, we see that the market is willing to pay a premium for data isolation. However, for investors and operators, the real signal is the debt-to-equity ratio of these national projects. If Oracle can convince nations to foot the bill for the physical infrastructure while they collect the recurring software fees, they solve their cash flow crisis. If they continue to carry the capital intensity on their own books, the sovereign play is just a high-stakes hedge against a slowing global market. Watch for the first major sovereign partnership where the host nation provides the majority of the data center financing. That will be the indicator that the risk has successfully shifted from the vendor to the state. Subscribe for more.